amazing, beautiful people, and welcome back to another Zero Cut Content Reaction video. How you guys doing? So, episode 5, huh? Episode freaking 5. I'm literally recording this 2 days before the next episode comes out, and my word, man, my word, the comment section was saying, Luke, things are about to get wild, and you know what? You could kind of tell. At the end of the last episode, I was like, you know what? There's an energy in the air. I feel like things are about to get wild. But this episode, I actually felt like this could be one of the ones that had a lot left out. Now, I haven't read the source material, consumed it in any form, so I don't know. But to me, with like the library and then the books and everything like that, this felt like one that I wanted more content for, that I needed more context for. So I'm glad that we've got a cut content video, and I can't wait to get some questions that go inside my head about the books and how they work and everything else in this freaking library, as well as some of the flaws too. And hopefully, we're gonna get some answers. We might not, because maybe we're gonna find out later on in the story, but we might. So let's find out together. Huge shout out to Annie News for making these incredible videos. Go check out Annie News' channel, link in the description. If you enjoy these reactions, like, subscribe. Let's get to 100k. We are actually scarily freaking close. That could be another plaque up on that wall, my friends. Now let's jump into my first time ever reaction to the ReZero cut content of season 4, episode 5.
The secrets of the tower are being revealed to us. The anime is doing a fantastic job maintaining the mystery of it all, but in the novel there's a lot of interesting developments being made in between all that.
Yeah,
things like Meili's past and Julius's duel in Wallachia weren't just the brief mentions the anime made them out to be. The novel provides a lot more details, and I think it's because they're laying the foundations for elements that will show up in the future. So, whether you're curious about...
See, this is what I was thinking. Are these going to be things that we're just going to find out in the future?
...those additional developments, or just want to know more about what's going on in the anime, stick around as we'll cover all of that. Let's get started. Episode 71, Stick Swinger, covering chapters 3 and 4 from volume 22 of the light novel. With the third floor Teijida now unlocked, Subaru could only rant about how impossible the test would be for anyone else.
By the way, I do want to take a moment just to say, like, these videos are so good. They are so good. For anime-only viewers especially. Like, these are so good.
That much we saw for ourselves, but in an interesting statement Shaula would make after, Subaru should have been happy the constellation test was at least solvable. Had the test been given by someone like Reed, then Shaula didn't put it past him to leave a clone of himself and not let anyone through unless they could beat him. That to her was what she would consider impossible. So, with knowledge of...
Well, that's interesting. That's what she would consider impossible. Her. Queen freaking OP who disintegrated that crazy mob. She would consider that guy fighting him impossible. Doesn't it kind of look like that's about to be what they're going to try and do?
A different universe seeming like the least of Subaru's problems.
That's interesting.
He could only move on and focus on the task in front of him. The archive of books Beatrice couldn't be happier to be in. Not because this was a place where she spent 400 years of her life, but rather because it was where Subaru told her to choose him. A library such as this wasn't a place Beatrice could forget no matter how hard she tried. Now, there was no denying it was Subaru who had gotten all of them to the point they were now, so naturally such a feat was deserving of praise. Amelia would display it with blind faith and absolute trust, Beatrice with her loving affection, then even Julius with his modest sincerity.
Yeah,
they were all things Subaru once yearned to attain for himself. It was now that he actually had them, though, that the sense something was wrong kept bothering him.
I truly feel like Subaru's character arc is one of the greatest in all of anime.
For some reason, he just couldn't be content with the way things were. Sure, these people close to him now saw him the exact way he wanted them to, but Subaru was now doubting whether he actually deserved that. He wondered if he was truly worthy of all their respect like that. Now, their deliberation of the books would continue just as we saw, then it's once we get to the story of Typhon that can pretty much be summed up like this. In a world where there's an infinite multitude of possibilities, every action can be judged into 2 categories. Deeds that were just and deeds that were wrong. Not many would consider such in the black and white way that Typhon does, but it was her curious upbringing that made it so. You see, while her father's intent was certainly a noble one, the instillment of his ideals was done far too hastily. Typhon had grown up watching so many people be executed that she sooner learned the appropriate punishment for sins than she did the sanctity of life. So, with only an
Yeah, I guess from her perspective, that's the correct punishment, right? Doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter what you've done. If you're guilty, that's the correct punishment. Which is why she then just, replicates her father's behavior, because she is just punishing people the way he does.
Understanding that sinners needed to be punished, what Typhon sought was a scale by which she could judge evil deeds as evil. Crime and punishment were influenced by many different factors though, so for this girl who knew nothing of compromise or resignation, Typhon struggled to find an answer for herself. It was only after her father accepted her crime without punishment that's when Typhon found her scale. If a sin worthy of being punished existed within a person's heart, they would be judged accordingly. Such was how the Witch of Pride came to be. This was the story Subaru was bearing witness to, not with his mind, his head, or his body, but rather with his very soul itself.
That was curious. So she said if the sin was in the person's heart, they would be judged accordingly. So does that mean the person themselves has to believe that the sin that they have committed is worthy of that kind of punishment? Like there has to be a part of them that thinks they should die? Or does she mean if they've committed a sin and she can see it, it doesn't matter how they feel about it, she will punish them according to her, ideas?
That's right. His soul was what was pulled into this book, and it was his soul that Subaru was struggling to tear back out of it. This meant Subaru got to experience everything the same way Typhon did, everything from the smell and taste of the blood, all the way to the feeling and weight of countless lives shattered.
Damn.
So, vicariously does well to describe that sensation, as Subaru essentially experienced. Julius had done the same with Balaroy, but what they didn't show after was his hesitation in talking about it. At first, Julius was reluctant to reveal his connection, but after Subaru quickly caught on that Julius was hiding something, Subaru wasted no time lecturing him on trust. Julius would then apologize in the most sincere way he could, after which he would reveal Balaroy was one of the 9 divine generals, the group exclusively considered to be Wallachhia's strongest warriors. How strong were they? Well, if not for Lagunica's covenant with the dragon or the existence of Reinhardt, there was a good chance Lagunica would struggle to compete with the military strength of Wallachia. Subaru found it strange that Julius would...
Okay. It's funny how Reinhardt is just it's just so stupidly OP that's well, if he didn't exist, you've got to start every sentence. How strong are they? Well, first, let's take Reinhardt out of the picture. If he didn't exist...
to compare fighting strength this way, but it made sense considering the two nations weren't really on the best of terms. Now, you'd think...
Although I will say, this new person...
Julius killing a foreign general would have started a war, but the circumstances were a lot more complicated than that. You see, this was something he, Reinhardt, and Felix were all involved in. They were currently staying in Wallachia, all because the Wallachian Emperor had wished to meet Reinhardt. Now, normally no country would ever let Reinhardt get close to their borders, but this was as Julius called a special dispensation. If not for that, then the treaties in place prevented Reinhardt from ever leaving Lagunica. There was too much risk in allowing him to enter a nation he had no allegiance to. So, it was this visit that just so happened to line up with when Balaroy was attempting a coup. A series of events that unfolded just as Julius was having an audience with him. A duel inevitably emerged from the conflict, one that Julius just barely managed to win somehow. It was during this that...
Oh, when Julius spoke about it, I didn't know if he'd won or he just survived. But maybe surviving is a win when you're up against an opponent like this.
Julius got a feel for who this Balaroy was, and what he felt was that the reason for his coup was neither greed nor profit. No. To Julius, he felt there must have been something more. That's why he places Balaroy on such a pedestal, and it's why he looks back on it with such regret. Whatever the case may be, I'm sure these events with Wallachia will become more relevant in the future. Getting back to the task at hand,
the world of
if this
so
really
big,
was an archive of the dead from past to present, then getting anywhere wasn't likely. This gave Subaru time to talk to Meili, a conversation Meili was surprised Subaru didn't have sooner. I mean, she was, after all, at the mansion for an entire year, so Meili felt Subaru could have asked her these questions whenever.
True, I guess.
She actually genuinely liked him because of all
year?
the presents he gave her.
Of course it's been a whole year. I forgot about the entire freaking training and time jump. For some reason it didn't feel like a year ago that all that shit went down.
So, to her, answering a few questions
feels
was
like
nothing.
about her?
As for why Subaru decided to ask her now, it was
We're not too
because
fond.
the feeling of death was undeniably all around them. It was a feeling that served to remind him Meili wasn't the little girl who played with dolls that she was in the mansion. Obviously, the entire mansion was on guard after locking her away, but after no attempts to escape and not even any hostility, eventually everyone just let their guards down around her. Petra
I don't like the way that was worded. And do you know what? The way she like looks at some people sometimes does worry me a little bit.
seemed to be a bit more proactive in creating a relationship, but even she never asked the questions Subaru was asking now. So that then led to Subaru's
Hopefully she
discussion
stays
about
good,
her
but
upbringing,
I don't know.
the center of which was her blessing. Regardless of whether you looked at it as a curse or a blessing, it was undeniable that Meili's power directly influenced where she ended up today.
So cool.
The story
that
she
scene.
told was certainly a tragic one, but the way Meili told it made Subaru wonder whether he was actually supposed to feel sad for her or not.
What do you reckon they were doing when they started taking the books off the shelves and just putting them on the tables? What do you reckon they were doing? Were they taking down names they recognized, or were they just being fucking weird? What was their goal here?
To Meili, this was just the way things were, and considering the nature of her blessing, she said it would have been far more strange if she didn't end up using her powers for killing. Obviously, that time had passed, but Subaru knew he needed to keep reiterating that just in case. Under no circumstances was Meili
Great
ever
camera
supposed to kill again. Now, it was right after Meili was finishing her statement of not wanting to read about anyone that the way she trailed off made it seem like there was someone. I'm sure you can guess who that is.
Never seen this person before in my life. Remember what we said. The licking of the lips. Only one character is allowed, and that's our girl Elsa. I mean, I don't know who this is. It could be anybody.
But I couldn't tell you whether that's 100% true or not. In any case, eventually the archive would be determined as a fruitless endeavor, since not only did finding information require knowing a dead person, it also required that dead person having memories regarding the information they were looking for. So the odds of that were akin to
Yeah. See, throughout the entire episode, I kept saying we need to find Gluttony's book. Wait, but the Witch of Gluttony. No, that does make sense. I was about to say, but that we can't do that doesn't make any sense. But it does actually make sense. That should have been something we did. But then again, if you're looking for one book and there's no discerning like order, then yeah, you're fucked.
winning the
Like,
lottery.
could be. Look at the size of
Instead,
this place.
Subaru decided the
it's
best
not
thing to do was
impossible.
go up, since there was a good chance more information would be available higher. Julius, however, had a different idea, and that was to throw an army at the problem. With the path to the tower now made clear, if they could somehow rid the desert of all mob beasts, then bringing more people into the tower didn't seem all that impossible.
That's true.
It would certainly make analyzing the archive go a lot faster and
That's
even
actually a
increase
great
the number
idea.
of books they could read. The thing is, while this was certainly a beneficial plan for the kingdom and its history, it wasn't really beneficial to what the group needed now. That's not to say Julius was in the wrong though, since
That is true, because the group right now wants to, wake everybody up and do all these investigations. That's kind of why they're here. Which, well, no, it is beneficial. It definitely is beneficial. I think it's a fucking great idea. I think Julius was cooking.
pretty much all of them were operating with ulterior motives. It's just even enacting Julius's plan was sure to be difficult. It's for this reason Anastasia questioned Shaula the way she did, since if you were to think about the tower from the perspective of the person who created it, they wouldn't have gone to such great lengths to protect the archive if they didn't want armies of people storming in to investigate it. If you thought about it that way, then it made sense that this archive's guardian would have special rules in order to protect it. Rules which Aridina would then force out of her. Breaking those rules would result in Shaula having to kill them, but Shaula was certain killing Subaru wasn't even possible. As far as she was concerned, to even try would undoubtedly result in her death. Still, the group couldn't.
Do you know what I love is what we've spoken about now? And it makes me definitely feel like Shaula knows about Subaru's return to death, but not the return to death, just that he's unkillable. Which Subaru technically is unkillable. The best way in order to fight Subaru would just be to tie him up and leave him. That would be the best way. Like, just tie him up, leave him somewhere, and just never touch him, imprison him. But no, people aren't all gonna know that, right? But from her perspective, if she knows about Subaru's pretty much immortality, then like we said, Subaru just becomes a god with all cheats turned on. And if you try and hit him, he's going to be over there. And try and hit him, he's going to be over there. So if she knows about that, then in her mind, she could probably just think if I try and fight Subaru through my eyes, I'm just never ever going to kill him. He's going to be dancing around, and at some point, Subaru will be smart enough to figure out your death. But from their perspective, it all happens that quick. From Subaru's perspective, it's hell, though.
Help but be cautious
them,
anyway, as whatever command was forcing Shaula to act this way, it obviously trumped everything else. It's a shame we didn't get an answer to Subaru's question of what she was, since if not a spirit and not a human, then I'm starting to lean more into the homunculus or robot category.
Homunculus
In any
robot.
case, with the 4 rules of the tower now made clear...
Well, I thought she was incredibly strong, and she is, but she's not that strong, apparently, so she's scared of other people as well, like, to this degree. I'm kind of curious about that as well. I'm also curious what she meant when she said she would turn into, like, a killing machine. Like, almost like a switch being flipped.
Both Subaru and Amelia agreed this was even more similar to the trials than they imagined. Not only were they given vague examinations they needed to complete, they also had to follow rules they weren't even made aware of. So, the whole style of it matched Echidna's personality to a T. As for how they would know if the rules were broken...
Scary that they match Echidna's personality when Echidna is with them, but not with them, but is with them.
Well, that was something
Different but the
Shaula
same,
said
huh?
would happen automatically. Apparently, if any rules were broken, she would just know. There was nothing Subaru and the others could do to hide it, and there was nothing Shaula could do to hide from it. Whatever force was guiding her actions was unyielding. Now, it was while this conversation was happening that
I will say that her actions don't seem very Subaru. Like, let's just say Subaru is this crazy-ass fucking guy from the past or whatever. And he... I always forget the name of him. Always forget the fucking name. Flugel. Let's say that, like, somehow that is Subaru. And Subaru, like, is Shaula's boss or whatever. Then what's the deal with all the killing? The way she acts isn't Subaru. Like, her turning into a killing machine and killing them all and everything like this. Like, I can never see Subaru giving those kind of orders, ever.
Beatrice never stopped analyzing the archive. She had been studying any book she could, not even paying attention to the nickname Shaula came up for her. Even Subaru had a tough time bringing her back to reality, as whatever Beatrice was focused on, that seemed to take precedence. It was behavior that was actually a little bit worrisome. With the miasma still affecting how they all interacted with each other, Subaru needed to make sure he was still on top of it. For now, he decided to just shelve it though, so what came next was the discovery of the staircase. A grand stairway starting on the 4th floor and leading to the 2nd. Judging from the way it just went up, there was no doubt this staircase warped the space around it much like how the desert did. If it didn't, then it wouldn't be long before this staircase just led straight outside the tower. In the end, the staircase would be 10 times longer than that which led to the 3rd floor, so
Jesus,
at the very
really?
least they knew they were higher now. When it came to the start of the test, once
They did
again
not show
Subaru's
that.
head would be filled with a voice that sounded exactly like his own. This time he was going to ask if anyone else heard it, but before he could,
See, that's the thing I really want to know, is if anyone else heard it. Because I wonder, if everyone else says, yes, but the voice sounds like Subaru, that is incredibly suspicious to me. And I hate the way they're not addressing that as well.
that's when a mysterious figure appeared. A person whose aura genuinely froze Subaru to his core. If not for his quivering legs making him unable to move, Subaru would have run out the room just like his instincts were telling him to. In the novel, the figure's eventual tone shift would come after taking a quick scan of the room, since unlike the change in scenery we got in the anime, the moment this man had taken in the white space surrounding him, that was enough for him to realize what it is he was here for. He even seemed to understand this version of himself wasn't the real one. He was a lot more crude and way more vulgar, but aside from that and everything else we saw in the anime, the novel would display the 3 conditions I mentioned last video. Where the previous examination had unlimited time, unlimited attempts, and unlimited challengers, the 3 categories were now all conditionally unlimited.
Oh.
I couldn't tell you what that meant, but whatever those restrictions may be,
Conditionally
Shaula was the one to ensure they wouldn't be broken. But yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much it for episode 5.
If they're conditionally unlimited, then what are the conditions? They're probably not going to tell us,
All
are
in
they?
all, the episode was about as faithful as it could be, only skipping out on some extra side character development. The anime's definitely slowed down a bit, so I'm glad they're taking their time to build everything up like this. Now, if you enjoyed the video, then leave a like.
Huge shout out to Annie News. Make sure you go support his video, alright? Link to it in the description. Every time we do one of these reactions, I hope you guys are supporting Annie News, okay? Interesting. Interesting. By the way, I mentioned this before. I just want you guys to know I am watching Slime currently. You can check out their reactions on Patreon at the moment. They will eventually be coming to YouTube. I've just got to wait for the editor to sort of get on it. But yeah, they will be coming to YouTube. So for anyone who's like wondering where they are, just there you go. Now you know. Now you know where they are. Okay. So there's a couple of extra bits of information here. First, our red-headed crazy dude has an aura that scared Subaru to his core. Now that's not, that surprising. Things like that have happened to Subaru before, so fair enough. I don't know. There's loads of new information, actually. Because Betty's reaction to the book seems curious. They've still got the miasma effect as well, which means they're a bit rough around the edges towards one another. There's still some more secrets. What's this challenge? Now there's conditions to it as well. Betty seems to be acting weird. There's so much, the thing about this season that makes it so great is the mystery. Because there is so much just lurking behind the veil, behind the curtain. We just don't know. We just got no clue have no idea what's going on. Oh, but you just know it's going to be drip fed. And if, what's the challenge for the next one? They have to fight this guy? If so, then, what and who is he and how strong is he? He's strong enough to scare Shaula, to the point where she's, convulsing on the damn floor. So, and she seems the strongest in the tower at the moment. I would say, I can't think of anyone who could take her on. I don't think a Betty and a Subaru hybrid would be able to give her a run for the money. She doesn't even know if she'd be able to kill Subaru. My money would be on Shaula being able to take out pretty much every single one of them. I don't think it would be that difficult at all, to be honest. I know that you could have an argument for Amelia being able to do it, but Amelia was only able to be as strong as she was in the last season because of certain aspects in place. And she wasn't exactly going up against someone who was combat focused either. So I truly feel like if Shaula does go rogue, she could take them all out. And if that person with that level of strength is that worried about this dude, then we should be worried. I wonder how that's going to play into the next freaking episode. Alright, well, I guess that's where my reaction ends. Gosh, man, it's going to be well excited for the next episode. Anyway, you can check out their full reactions on G.O.T Games. Don't forget to subscribe as well on this channel. Hope you guys enjoyed my reaction. Jeez, excited. Anyway, please like, subscribe. Have an awesome freaking day. And that's it from me, my friends. As always, you will see me in the next video.